In this video, I will be sharing what I know about keyboard events and as it relates to using them in future projects, creating simple games and simple graphics demos. Um, None of my code here is intended to be used for business apps, so I'm trying to keep it uh, very simple. And Let's get started with the keyboard events. I will use code that's basically the same as listed in the developer API documentation from Mozilla, and I will be doing my version converted to basically Pascal to work with the Pascal JavaScript compiler. I'll be using Visual Studio Code here, and I will be using the command line compiler. I will be using the following command line, uh, right, where is it? Okay, it's right here. Let's see if I can mark it. All right, let's take a different approach here. So I'll be using this command line switch, and this includes the browser option. Basically, it gives you a console in the browser, and I'll show you how that works. It allows me to specify additional information more for debugging than anything else. You wouldn't want to compile your final project with this, but it helps us display information. So when we use the write command or write line command, uh, this is displayed on the main page. We don't have to expose the debugging information with the inspect. I will do that anyway, but this makes it visible on the main page. Um, so let's get started. I will run this, I will compile it and run it, and we can see what happens. So all the programs I've named test just to keep things simple. So we will compile test, and it compiles successfully. I'm going to jump to the browser and go back to our test here. I will refresh, and our program is waiting for us to press a key. So I will press A, and it shows that the that I did press A. It gives us a couple of options how it was pressed. I will go over those. I will press another key. I pressed shift left, and it shows that right here. Anyway, let's jump back to the code, and I will go line by line. So in order for our program to understand any of these keyboard events, we have to attach a keyboard handler. And we do this by attaching it to the document.onKeyDown event. And we could also attach it to the window on key down event. It does the same thing. I don't know exactly the differences between the two, but there might be a situation where you might need to use the window.on key. It works the same way. And we will leave that for now. In addition to the on key down event, there's also an on key up. I will go over those as well. So let's first take a look at the on key down, and I will comment everything out except this line here, and save it and recompile. And if we go back to our browser and refresh, now it doesn't matter what key I press. The only thing it should display that if a key was pressed. So if you're looking to add some kind of mechanism, if you have an option that says press any key to continue, this is as simple as it is. So you know that a key was pressed and you don't have to check any further. So it does that very simply. But let's say that we want to check for a specific key. Let's say we want to check for a lowercase a. So we have a couple of options. In this event, we are provided with this object here that stores the information of what key was pressed in the code variable and also in the key variable. And so when do you use which? In some cases, you can use either one. It doesn't matter. But for certain cases, you need to use a specific one. So let's say in our case, we're looking for lowercase a. Which one would help us here? Let's recompile the demo again and go back to our browser and refresh. So this time I will press A. And if we look at the what code gives us, the code variable, it gives us this, which is good. We know that key A was pressed, but we don't know if it was uppercase or lowercase. But the key variable tells us that it's lowercase. So we would use the key value as opposed to the code value. Okay, and let's go back and we can check for additional keys also. So if we wanted to check if let's say the function key was pressed, I will comment this out again just to make it more clear. So right here we're checking if function key 1 was pressed. And if we do press that, it should display this message, you pressed F1. So let's compile this again. Back to our browser, refresh. I will press a different key just to see what happens. And nothing happens. I'm hitting Q, W, E, R, nothing happens. I will press F1 now. And it detected the right key, and so it displayed the message. Now I'm going to take this chance to show you that with the Pascal to JavaScript compiler, there's a few extra things, and one of them is a helper class here that stores a number of constants that we can use instead of using the actual string. So I know this string is for the F1 key because I've looked it up, and they can be found here on Mozilla's website under this link here, key values. But using strings might not be the best approach. It might be better if you use the constant. And I'm going to make a slight change here. So if we were to make a typo here, let's say instead of F1, we had FL. Now, and we didn't test it when we were coding this. We just by accident hit the L instead of the 1, but it looks like F1. And this is the kind of thing that could creep into a program and you might not notice it. So if we run this, it's not going to work, but let's just do that anyway. Compile it, and I will refresh F1, nothing's happening. But, you know, let's go back and there's a different way to check for F1. I will fix this here just so that it doesn't stay like that. We can use this command. So this is where the constants are stored for the keys. And in this case, let's say if I try to put FL here instead of F1, let's see what happens. So let's save this. and the compiler tells us now that that key is not found, or there's an error there. So we know that that's not a right value. But if we change that back to F1, save, compile again, go to our browser, refresh, F1, and there we go, it works. So that's the advantage of using the constants instead of putting a string name. In case you make a small typo like that, with the string, you wouldn't be able to detect it easily, but with the constant, it's much more visible. All right, let's the other things you can check is if the Alt key or the Control key are pressed along with one of your codes. So I will uncomment these lines and save, and let's see if we can detect the additional keys. And refresh. So I will press just A first, and sorry, key is lowercase a. I will do Alt A next. So we can see now that the key value is Alt, but it also tells us that the Alt key was pressed, and the next value key value is A, and the Alt value was pressed. So it is detecting both characters. So what we would do is instead of just checking um, one value after another, we should check for both. So we would do something like if k key equals, now I'm just gonna not obey my own information that I gave you earlier and just use a string just to keep things simple. So we're checking for A and the Alt key. And let's comment that. So we're looking for Alt A. And let's put Alt A was pressed. Well, let's make it lowercase. All right, let's compile this and see if it works the way we're expecting. Uh, all right, let's see if this works. Okay, and that compiled. Let's refresh. I will press A on its own, nothing. I will do Alt A now, and there we go. Alt A was pressed. So that's a way of checking special keys. And we can do the same thing with Control, but I will leave that. It's you can basically figure that out. You use the CTRL key to detect the Control key. So I will leave all this commented, and you could uncomment and experiment with this. So everything back to normal here. Let's change our Alt key back to normal. All right, I think that's fine. So what I'll do now is comment the on key down and enable the on key up. So this works similar to the on key down, except it doesn't get triggered until we release the key. So let's save this and run our demo again. And let's refresh. So I will hit the A key and I'm holding it down. I'm releasing it right now. So we can see that, you know, it displays the same information as before, but this time it only gets triggered when we actually release the key. I don't know exactly what situation you may want to use that, but it is available and I thought I'd just show that. All right, I think we're done with this demo. I covered everything I wanted to say here. Let's see. Yeah. So what I'll do now is I didn't go over our test HTML, but it's completely empty. This is the minimum amount that you can use. I don't even have a Canvas script here, so very plain. So let's close that down and let's open another demo just to utilize the knowledge that we learned so far. I've made another little demo or test program, and this time we have a canvas, and it's 300 by 300 pixels, and I've incorporated the canvas and keyboard in one little demo. So we have our on key down event here, and we're checking for arrow keys. And every time we detect what kind of arrow key, we're incrementing or decrementing the X and Y values. And we're simply painting the screen green here, and we're drawing a red box that's 30 pixels wide and 30 pixels tall. And we have a procedure here called init canvas. All it does is get the canvas element and gets the context to the canvas and stores it in the CTX variable. And we use the CTX variable with the canvas commands to draw and set the fill styles and use the draw commands. So hopefully what this will show you is how you use the canvas and keyboard event handler together. I will switch to the proper folder. And let's compile this as well. And that worked. Back to the browser, and we will need to go back and go into this folder and click on test HTML. And so this is our second test program, and I'm going to be using the arrow keys, and you can see I'm moving this little box around. So I'm interacting with the keyboard and with the canvas at the same time. So this maybe gives you an idea that you can start using this for simple games. So I think I'm about done with this video. Next video, I'll handle mouse interactions, mouse handling. But for now, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.